Hey warrior, there's an invisible boundary within each person that few ever notice. It's the line between who you authentically are and who society pressures you to become. Most of us drift across it without even realizing it's happening. We adapt, we minimize ourselves, we squeeze into smaller versions of who we are, all for acceptance, approval, or belonging. It begins subtly. Someone interrupts you and you brush it off with a laugh. You nod along to something that doesn't sit right with you, just to keep things smooth. You assure someone it's fine when it really isn't, terrified of becoming an inconvenience. Gradually, this pattern hardens into a lifestyle, and before you recognize it, your life no longer belongs to you. You're existing for everyone else's ease now. The Stoics recognized this danger centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius once observed, "It never ceases to amaze me." We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Here we are, supposedly prizing ourselves above all, yet we surrender our dignity for the tiniest scraps of validation. Pause and consider this. How often have you left a conversation mentally replaying what you wish you'd said differently? How frequently have you felt disrespect cut through you yet held back because you didn't want to seem difficult? Right here is where the trouble starts. Each time you make yourself less, each time you act smaller, weaker, or less capable than reality, you're educating others on how to approach you. And here's the uncomfortable reality: people rarely treat you better than what you're willing to accept. The Stoic approach isn't about ego. It's not about building walls or becoming unapproachable. It's about grounding yourself so firmly in your own identity that nobody can diminish you without your consent. Living with significance doesn't require fame or fortune. It means arranging your life so that you genuinely matter to yourself first. It requires developing an internal framework you refuse to violate. Not for affection, not for wealth, not for acceptance. And this is the difficult reality. The instant you begin shrinking for others, your self-respect starts dissolving. And once that happens, you essentially invite others to follow suit. The Stoics viewed this as fundamental to character. Epictetus taught that you should never sacrifice your integrity for things of little worth. If something costs you your self-respect, the price is simply too high, regardless of what it claims to offer. So in this video, we're walking through 5 Stoic principles designed to help you maintain your stature permanently. These aren't empty inspirational phrases. They're actionable, straightforward, deeply relatable insights you can integrate immediately. From this moment forward, you'll discover how to maintain your position without aggression, how to trust your own perspective without constant reassurance, and how to naturally attract dignified respect. What makes Stoicism beautiful is it offers both instruction and understanding. It explains not just what to do, but the deeper reason behind it. Because once you grasp the philosophy, you understand this goes far beyond social dynamics. It's about safeguarding your most essential relationship, the one you maintain with yourself. Take a moment to envision yourself differently. Picture someone who never feels compelled to defend their value. Someone steady when challenged. Someone comfortable with silence when appropriate, articulate when needed, and able to withdraw when respect is absent. That version of you isn't imaginary. It's an achievable state, built through practice. But only if you stop diminishing yourself and begin living by principles nobody else can overwrite. By the conclusion of this video, you'll carry 5 distinct Stoic insights that can ground you in strength, dignity, and authentic self-worth. These aren't techniques to dazzle others. They're about earning genuine respect by remaining faithful to yourself. And always keep this in mind: the respect you show yourself establishes the baseline for how others must engage with you. So before moving forward, I need you to make a promise. Not for me, but for yourself. Promise that from now on, you'll stop making yourself small for people who would never expand themselves for you. If you're prepared, stay with me through every moment. Each section connects to the next, so don't skip ahead. And if this message already strikes you as something you were meant to hear, then hit like, share your thoughts in comments, pass this along to someone who's been surrendering their dignity, and subscribe so we continue this journey together. If you're standing with me, write in the comments, "Today I'm owning my value." Number 1, quit justifying yourself to everyone. The most common way people unconsciously diminish themselves is through excessive explanation, defending their choices, their decisions, even their aspirations. It can feel like simple politeness, like you're merely seeking understanding. But here's the reality. When you constantly defend your choices, you're handing away your personal authority. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that if you want to write, simply write. He didn't suggest explaining your writing to everyone so they'd endorse it. The Stoics recognized that our actions should communicate for themselves. The more thoroughly you explain yourself, the more opportunity you create for others to challenge your logic, question your intentions, and plant uncertainty in your mind. Over-explaining typically stems from insecurity, the quiet fear that your decisions lack validity until someone else confirms them. It's essentially seeking permission to simply be yourself. But in doing this, you're surrendering your autonomy. You're effectively announcing, "I don't fully trust my own choices unless you validate them." Here's the uncomfortable reality. Not everyone will support your decisions. Not everyone will comprehend them. And that's completely acceptable. You don't owe anyone an explanation of your existence. If someone disapproves of your path, that's their emotional responsibility, not yours to resolve. Reflect on how much energy evaporates as you defend your journey to people who aren't even traveling alongside you. You explain career changes, relationship endings, lifestyle shifts, new directions. Meanwhile, many of those receiving your explanations wouldn't be present during your struggles. Stoicism teaches that tranquility emerges when you concentrate on what you can influence, and other people's opinions fall outside that circle. Every minute dedicated to making someone understand you is time stolen from actually embodying your truth. When you stop over-explaining, you're declaring something significant. I trust myself enough to proceed without your blessing. That's self-respect in its most powerful form. And it requires no arrogance, just clarity. You don't need to be unkind or distant. But you must recognize that your existence isn't a courtroom demanding defense for every choice. Observe those who move through life with quiet assurance. They don't overwhelm you with justifications. They simply act. And because they move without excessive explanation, others naturally regard them more seriously. It's crucial to understand that over-explaining extends beyond words, it's about positioning. Imagine presenting an idea professionally. If you immediately flood the space with justifications, you broadcast uncertainty. Present it cleanly and stop, and you project confidence. Here's where Stoicism simplifies everything. Know your values. Make choices aligned with those values. Let your actions communicate louder than your explanations. When you're anchored in what truly matters, you won't feel compelled to broadcast defenses for every decision. People may still judge, but their judgments will encounter a more solid version of you. Next time you sense that urge to justify yourself unnecessarily, pause. Ask yourself, is this person's understanding actually required for me to move forward? If not, your silence will accomplish more than any explanation you might offer. Seneca once advised, spend time with people who are likely to improve you. Notice he didn't say, spend time with people who always comprehend you. Not everyone will understand your journey, and they don't need to. What matters is that you understand yourself. Someone perpetually explaining themselves has essentially outsourced their self-worth. Someone who simply acts with conviction has already achieved genuine significance. Not because others acknowledge it, but because they've stopped seeking external validation. If you want to permanently stop diminishing yourself, begin here. Reduce your explanations. Speak when appropriate. Stand behind your decisions without requiring applause. Your existence will immediately feel more spacious, and your presence will carry more weight. Remember, truly substantial people don't discuss their importance. They simply live in ways that make it unmistakable. Now, take a moment and type this below if you're ready to deepen your self-trust. I no longer defend my value. Number 2, stop pursuing people's attention. One of the most harmful ways we reduce ourselves is by desperately seeking those who don't genuinely value our presence. Whether in friendships, romantic connections, or professional environments, we find ourselves overextending, not toward our own goals, but simply hoping to be noticed, selected, validated by someone. The difficult truth is this. When you compete for anyone's attention, you're essentially communicating that their approval exceeds your own dignity and value. And once that message is sent, they'll accept it as truth. The Stoics understood this clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes colored by its thoughts." If your mind constantly circles around, "How can I make them notice me? How can I demonstrate my worth to them?" your behavior will inevitably reflect that desperation, and desperation quickly devalues you. Here's what matters. Genuine respect and authentic connection can't be manufactured through effort. If someone recognizes your worth, they'll demonstrate it without you performing. If they don't, your efforts will never be sufficient, because they're not actually seeing you. When you chase attention, you're essentially entering an auction where your value is constantly being bid on. You're handing someone else the authority to determine whether you succeed or fail. And that's genuinely dangerous. The Stoics would recognize this as allowing external factors to govern your internal peace. And here's the deception. Sometimes your pursuit temporarily succeeds. They might suddenly respond, show interest, offer praise. But it's fleeting because the foundation isn't respect, it's your continuous effort. The moment you stop trying, the connection dissolves, leaving you chasing once more. This pattern exhausts you. It also trains you to measure yourself by attention received rather than by your inherent worth. The Stoic alternative. Simply withdraw from the competition entirely. Don't even start running. If someone requires you to fight for their time or recognition, that's a clear indication they don't value you appropriately. Consider the most respected individuals you know. They don't spend energy wondering how to attract attention. They're focused on their purpose, their values, their development. And because of this, others naturally gravitate toward them. Attention arrives as a byproduct of purposeful living, not as its objective. Instead of asking, "How can I get their attention?" start asking, "Do I actually want attention from someone who wouldn't value me without my efforts?" Framed this way, the answer usually clarifies itself. Epictetus taught, if you wish to improve, be content to appear foolish and unintelligent. In other words, accept that people may misunderstand your worth while you quietly develop it. The right people will recognize it without advertising. This doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means ceasing to perform for others' interest. You can still engage, still care, but you stop connecting your self-worth to whether they notice you. And here's something essential. People can sense when you're trying to win them over. Even hidden behind humor, favors, or excessive involvement, that energy remains detectable. And energy communicates far more than words ever could. When you stop competing for attention, something remarkable shifts. You stop surrendering your power. You transition from, "Please acknowledge me," to, "I understand my worth, and I won't diminish myself simply to be visible to you." Over time, the right people will notice you naturally. And interestingly, those who previously ignored you may wonder why you've stopped pursuing them. That's when you realize attention holds little value. What you genuinely need is respect. And respect only emerges when you refuse to beg for it. If you want to live as someone truly significant, understand this. Significance isn't granted by others' perception. It's claimed within your own consciousness first. So stop participating in a race you never agreed to run. Stand still. Let others pass if they choose. Your destination is different. Number 3, develop the ability to leave without explanation. Most people equate strength with fighting, with proving themselves, with winning disagreements. But authentically, one of the most refined forms of strength is simply walking away, and doing so without announcement, without warning, without attempting to make anyone understand why. When you diminish yourself, you often do it by remaining too long in spaces that don't deserve you. You stay because you hope they'll transform. You stay because you want them to finally recognize your worth. You stay because leaving feels like failure. But here's reality. Remaining in situations that deplete you isn't loyalty, it's self-betrayal. The Stoics understood that sometimes the most courageous choice is release. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better person of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The process is mutual, for we learn while we teach. Notice his emphasis. If a connection doesn't enhance you, doesn't elevate your life or character, it doesn't merit preservation. Walking away isn't about cruelty. It's about protecting your mind, your dignity, your future. Here's why, without warning, matters. If you announce your departure, "I'll leave if things don't change," you invite manipulation. People might offer temporary promises, behave differently briefly, say whatever keeps you there. Then everything reverts to its unhealthy pattern. Walking away silently means you've already determined you've given enough. You don't require their understanding, agreement, or permission. You've recognized your energy is too precious to waste explaining why you're choosing peace over disturbance. Consider how much dignity silence contains. No pleading, no drama, no final speech designed to make them comprehend. Just action. You depart. You continue. You reclaim your space. Those who genuinely valued you will notice and reach out authentically. Those who didn't won't. And that's how you discover who belongs in your life. Stoicism teaches us not to be governed by what we cannot influence. You cannot control whether someone respects you, treats you well, or values your presence, but you can control whether you remain in that environment. And when you choose to leave, you demonstrate to yourself that you take your worth seriously. Walking away silently also transforms you internally. It teaches reliance on your own standards, not others' reactions. It strengthens your self-respect. It shows you don't require permission to exit what harms you. And it sends a message, not just to them, but to yourself, that you won't tolerate being treated as less than you are. This doesn't mean impulsively cutting people off for minor errors. It means recognizing patterns. When someone consistently demonstrates they don't value you, believe them. And when you believe them, act without waiting for them to suddenly transform. This principle extends beyond relationships. It applies to employment, social environments, any context that consistently diminishes you. You need no grand social media announcement or detailed justification. You simply step out of that space and into one where you're respected and valued. The beauty of this principle is it creates quiet authority. People notice you don't cling. You don't force yourself into spaces. You don't beg for inclusion. And ironically, this increases their respect. Marcus Aurelius expressed it simply. The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. In other words, you needn't fight, argue, or match disrespect. You transcend it by removing yourself from reach. So remember this. Every time you choose to leave something beneath your standards, you're not losing. You're preserving your most valuable asset, yourself. Drop this affirmation in comments: my silence is my power. Number 4, guard your time like precious currency. Diminishing yourself isn't always about words or relationships. Sometimes it's about what consumes your hours. When you give away your time carelessly, you're quietly communicating that your life lacks sufficient value to protect. The Stoics recognized time as life itself. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have too little time, but that we waste so much." Every minute you spend is a fragment of existence you'll never recover. Yet how frequently do we surrender it to draining people and activities? How often do we commit from guilt, habit, or fear of disappointing, only to regret later? When you treat your time as infinite, you invite others to treat it similarly. They'll contact you at any hour, request things they could handle themselves, expect availability on their terms. And if you consistently say yes, they'll never recognize your presence's true value because you've made it too accessible. Protecting your time doesn't mean becoming selfish or unavailable. It means recognizing that saying yes to anything inherently means saying no to something else. Without intention, you might be saying no to your own growth, your own peace, your own aspirations. Stoicism teaches focusing on what you can control. Your time ranks among the few things truly within your influence. You determine where to invest it, who receives it, what you create with it. Using it wisely reflects your self-respect. Consider this. If someone gave you $86,400 with instructions to spend it within 24 hours, you'd be extremely deliberate. You wouldn't hand it to strangers or waste it on meaningless things. Yet daily, you receive 86,400 seconds. Most people spend them as if they're worthless. When you don't value your time, you accumulate regrets. You look back realizing you gave hours, days, even years to things that didn't serve you. The Stoics would consider this a kind of moral failure, not from living wrongly, but from living unconsciously. Protecting your time demands boundaries. You must become comfortable saying no without feeling obligated to justify. You must schedule time for yourself and honor it as seriously as any important appointment, because you are important. This also means eliminating time wasters, not just people, but habits. Endless scrolling, pointless arguments, overcommitting to things you don't care about. These are subtle ways we diminish ourselves. You might think it's just 20 minutes here, an hour there, but those minutes accumulate. And what they accumulate into is a life where your best energy went to things that didn't matter. When you protect your time, something powerful emerges. People begin respecting it too. If they know you won't waste your own time, they're less likely to waste it for you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Don't act as if you'll live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while you can, be good." In our context, being good means using time well. Investing it in what strengthens you, what brings peace, what aligns with your values. Don't diminish yourself by remaining perpetually available for things that pull you away from the life you actually want. Before committing to anything, ask yourself, if this were my final week, would I still give my time to this? If the answer is no, reconsider before saying yes. The more intentional you become with time, the more meaningful your existence feels. And the more meaningful your existence feels, the less you'll tolerate anything that steals from it. So protect your time like precious currency, because it's the only resource you can never earn back. If you're ready to guard your time like treasure, let the community know, my time is invaluable. I invest it purposefully. Number 5, speak less, communicate more. One of the most overlooked ways we diminish ourselves is through excessive talking. Especially when we speak simply to fill silence, demonstrate intelligence, or gain approval. Words carry power, but when scattered and constant, they lose their impact. The Stoics emphasized restraint significantly. Zeno of Citium, Stoicism's founder, believed speech should serve truth and purpose, not ego or impulse. Epictetus taught, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so we might listen twice as much as we speak. The more you talk, the more opportunities you create for misunderstanding, for words being twisted, for premature judgment. But more significantly, talking without intention risks cheapening your own voice. Consider those you respect most. They're rarely the ones dominating conversations. They're the ones who listen, observe, then speak with precision. When they do speak, you pay attention because they don't waste words. When you speak less, your words naturally carry more weight. People notice that when you finally speak, it's worth hearing. This creates quiet authority, not through manipulative withholding, but through intentionality. Speaking less also provides thinking space. Many damage their own respect by speaking emotionally, blurting commitments they can't fulfill, or revealing things they later regret. The Stoics believed in pausing between stimulus and response, giving the mind space to filter before acting or speaking. And here's how this connects to never diminishing yourself again. When you speak without purpose, you're often trying to prove something. You're trying to fill space so people won't overlook you. But that comes from fear. Fear of being ignored. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being forgotten. Here's reality. People remember silence more than they remember noise. They remember the person who remained calm in chaos, who didn't need to defend themselves constantly, who didn't waste energy on endless explanations or gossip. This doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means letting silence work for you. When you remove the compulsion to constantly speak, you allow your actions, your presence, your consistency to communicate. Speaking less is also discipline, and discipline demonstrates self-respect. It tells the world, I don't need to reveal everything to prove my value. You'll see it in what I choose to share. Another benefit, you control your narrative. The less you give away, the less room others have to control stories about you. You decide what's shared, when, and with whom. This self-command naturally commands respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. A simple filter. Act only when right. Speak only when true. Imagine every word passing through that filter. How much stronger, cleaner, more impactful your communication would become. Practically, here's how to apply this. When you feel the urge to speak, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Does it add value? Listen actively to others, not just to respond, but to understand. Replace filler talk with purposeful presence. Let calm confidence fill space instead of noise. Remember that silence can be simultaneously an answer, a boundary, and a statement. When you master speaking less and communicating more, you stop chasing influence. You attract it. People lean in to hear you. And when you do speak, your words carry the weight of someone who knows their own value. So instead of flooding rooms with noise to feel significant, step into intentional silence as power. Let people feel your presence as strength before they ever hear your voice. If you're ready to speak with power and purpose, share below, my silence holds power. My words carry weight. Lowering yourself rarely happens in one obvious moment. It's gradual erosion. Small compromise here, brief silence there, extra effort for someone who wouldn't extend themselves for you. Over time, those small moments accumulate, and you examine yourself wondering why you feel so unseen. The Stoics remind us that significance doesn't come from titles, applause, or being loudest in the room. It comes from living by principles you refuse to abandon. It comes from carrying yourself with quiet certainty that your worth isn't negotiable. Each lesson serves as a reminder that respect originates with you. If you want others to treat you as significant, you must first decide you're significant, then live in ways that demonstrate it without ever pleading. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not external events." Understand this and you'll find strength. That's the essence. You can't control how others perceive you, but you can control how you perceive yourself. And when you decide never to diminish yourself again, the world will adapt. If you've reached this video's end, I want you to remember your worth isn't something anyone else can grant or remove. It's yours to protect, yours to embody, yours to honor. Like this video, share it, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom.